Welcome to Wellness Wednesdays with Sam, the Miracle Man. You'll join a captivating and transformational podcast where we'll explore the extraordinary journey of Sam, a man who overcame all odds to reclaim his life and health. Each Wednesday, Sam shares his inspiring stories of growth, health, and his journey to find wellness through self-care, mental well-being, and physical rejuvenation. We'll also have dynamic and interesting interviews with professionals in health, fitness, spirituality, and personal growth to help you on your journey to uncover the true secrets to living your best life. With just a click, you can subscribe. We will welcome you every week. Now here's your amazing host, Sam.
Hey, Miracle Makers. Welcome to Wellness Wednesdays. I'm Sam, and I hope you're feeling good and living life on your terms. And remember, we make miracles by feeling good, by being in this moment. So this is the first episode where I have a guest on. I've known Anthony for about 7-8 years now. I've witnessed his miraculous transformation. So he'll share his story of cancer and how he moved forward. But we really talk about the power of words, like the words battling, the words fighting, and how they're keeping us stuck. So enjoy the episode. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm here with Anthony today. He's going to tell us a little bit about your background.
I had several health crises over the course of my life. I'm 44 years old, and I spent about 20 years in corporate America in some very stressful jobs. I had a health crisis in 2013. I call it my metabolic health crisis. And there were a number of different ways in which I healed from that. And in 2015, I discovered Reiki. I started to learn Reiki. I started to teach Reiki. I became a master teacher. I was teaching over about 9 years now, or 8 years, whatever the math is. And it's just a passion of mine. And in 2019, after thinking that I was super well and on my way to optimal health, I got really sick and I got smacked with a diagnosis of a rare cancer. And it was time to put all of the energetic and spiritual and emotional practices into order, the things that I teach and preach every single day, and as well as be treated medically. And so, there's my journey really led me here today, and what we're here to talk about, which is the integration between whole wellness, medical and ancient modalities, and all the different ways in which people heal to treat the whole person and to become well. One of the things I always say is that, look, the traditional medical paradigm does not have the entire story, and neither does the spiritual healing side of things. We don't have the whole story either. And so it's in the integration and the working together and the collaboration of ideas and ideals and philosophies and practices that really helps a person become well.
Right. So, let's go back to 2019 when you got this other diagnosis, because before then you were already doing Reiki and some other practices. Do you think that's because maybe you were off balance? Maybe you were going one side, but not looking at the whole picture? This integrated wellness that you're talking about was that you had all these modalities, but maybe you're just too balanced one way and not the other way. And you had to find the middle way, if you will. Is that what you think maybe happened there in 2019?
Yeah, I mean, and you and I have talked about this before, and certainly we did some healing together, and I realized that I was off balance. Coming from I was learning Reiki and teaching Reiki for a good period of time, and I was also working in the pharmaceutical industry, right? And so there was this almost like internal struggle of like, I'm working in this industry, there's this dominant paradigm that I'm working in and perpetuating every single day, and yet I have these other beliefs which help people heal and help myself, heal and become empowered. But I was really kicking against the traditional medical paradigm. And, I think you said it correctly. I was out of balance. And I think I was too far on one side of the equation for sure.
And I think that's where a lot of people are, is not balanced.
I know for myself, I was too much in the medical system, just too much, thinking my doctors say it had to be this way. You're stuck with this forever. You have to take all these medicines and all that kind of story. And I think you face that as well, with your doctors telling you this is the worst case, this is what's going on, and this is the outcome. I'm sure you faced that as well.
I did, and I think there's two pieces of it. So when I had my first metabolic crisis, 2013, I was like 340 pounds, severely overweight. I was type 2 diabetic. I had high blood pressure and I had kidney issues, and there was all these things going on. And the doctor was like, "Look, you're going to have a stroke. You got to take all these medicines." I was on polypharmacy, 8 or 9 different pharmacological treatments. This is what was keeping me sustained, and blood sugar down and blood pressure right, and all those things that they say, okay, you're gonna have to take these medicines the rest of your life unless you do something about it, right? And so I did something about it, and I actually worked with some holistic doctors and coaches, and I ended up losing a bunch of weight, and I went to a chiropractor and I got adjusted, and I got into spiritual healing. And I thought that was the answer. I was like, well, the doctors are wrong. I did it this way, and so this must be the way, right? And so I went that way, and I taught that way, and I showed that way, and still working in the medical field. And then 2019, when I got this cancer, I kicked against it so hard that I just kept getting sicker and sicker and sicker. The doctor said to me, okay, well, there's a number of different things. We could do this chemo and radiation, except I was an expert on the oncology guidelines, and I was like, well, that's not even correct. And who are you to tell me that this is the way? And that's not even the correct way. I mean, I even went so far as to hire the doctor who wrote the guidelines so that I could get the correct treatment if I was going to take that treatment, Sam. So I was like really kicking hard against, like, I think they're lying to me. I think it's all insurance driven. I think there's a lot of money in this game. And it was a really bad perspective because I just kept getting sicker and sicker. I denied a surgery. And then there was this one pivotal moment where I did find this doctor, and he talked to me about how sick I actually was, and he talked to me about some treatment options, and he told me, look, you can go this way and we can treat your immune system and we can get you out of danger, or you can stay on pills, and you'll definitely be on those pills the rest of your life, and you might have to do treatments for the rest of your life, but this is just the way the cancer is, and you have to deal with that and deal with it as it comes. And so I said, look, I realized that how sick I was getting, and there were some really dicey moments during the time where they were trying to figure out like a final diagnosis. And I just decided to trust him. And I was like, okay, look, let's do this. But then I have all these other things which I'm going to do in support of my care so that I feel better. I'm emotionally, spiritually, energetically supported. I have, a spiritual healing community around me, and I'm just going to do those things anyway. And I'll try the treatments and I'll see if they work, and, all those things. And I was just in a lot of resistance. Like, even though I like found this doctor and I trusted him and he empathized with me and he encouraged me to do the other integrative treatments, he was pretty much sold out on, like, well, here's the only thing that's really going to help you. You can do that stuff if you want. And that's all well and good if it makes you feel good. But this is really the way that you're going to heal. So there was this like inner conflict, as well. I was like decided to trust the doctor in that moment. But I was also like, well, he doesn't know as much as he thinks he does. And there was still like a lot of resistance around it.
But that we got to have that resistance in a way too, because I think a lot of people follow blind, if you will, that this person knows what's best for me. And that's not really the best approach either, thinking that, because when I followed my doctors thinking they knew best for me, I was taking all these medicine, that polypharmacy, except I had 13 medicines. It was just like a mess. And when I found this other way, they were really against it. It's only traditional medicine. That's it. You're stuck with this the rest of your life, and that whole story. But I think it's very important as well that we have some resistance, that this doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah.
I can approach this, but this doesn't feel right. What else can I do? And that's where you found that spiritual community, and then but you didn't exclude, though. You found that middle way, if you will, between the spiritual community and the traditional. Because with people, I'm not necessarily against medicine. I'm just against medicine being the only way, that it has to be.
Exactly. When anybody tells me it's this or that, my immediate question is, and what else? right? What's the third way? What's the middle ground here? It can't be just this or that, because if it's just this, then what about the other side of the story? And if it's just that, well, what about this too? I mean, how do we work together, right? So that I can feel good about, spending my time, money, energy, resources on treatment or whatever we want to call it, and have an expectation that I'm getting better or that I'm feeling well. And I feel like if you just have that one side of the story, it's hard to reconcile, because it doesn't take into consideration how we feel inside or what we believe or what our philosophies are and how we expect. And I think that there's a lot of power in what we expect to happen and what we intend to happen, right?
Hmm.
That will work with the other side so that it accelerates and compounds on itself and, really supports the other opinion or the other approach. And it goes both ways.
Exactly. It's what you're talking about, this integrated wellness, approaching all the pieces, especially, I don't think that's really considered a lot. What's that person's mindset? What's that person's belief system? Does it align with it? Does it go against that? They don't really ask that too much in the medicine. Like, how do you feel about this? What's your beliefs about this? And it's just really like they treat almost like you are a mechanical machine. You're a machine. This is what we do. They don't take in the emotional side of it.
And that's what it felt like to me. I felt like they took Anthony out of the equation and they were treating the lymphoma, right? And that's what they knew. And here's the drug that treats this particular lymphoma, and this is what we do in this case. And if you don't take it, well, it's your life. Like, take it or leave it. What do you want? And it was like, well, okay, great. Well, now I'm sufficiently scared. And right. And what else can I do? And I was fortunate to find someone who was, I guess, sort of supportive, right? He was like, absolutely. If you think those things are, and he was like supportive and also condescending. Like, it was like, if you think those things are helping, then you should do those. But, really, this is what's helping you. And, have at it if you want to do those other things, if you think it's helpful. Right. But if you do just those things, like, you're not going to get better. And because you haven't started any treatment, you're not getting better. So is what you're really doing working? And it was just, he just kept lining me up to like come back to his opinion. And I mean, I was in tears. Like, I mean, I couldn't even comprehend what he was saying at one point until I really got a chance to step back and be like, okay, there's a decision to be made here. Clearly they have something that can contribute to my healing, that has hard scientific evidence and data. And I was a data guy in a data world. And I knew what it meant, right? Because I was an analyst in that world. And I dealt with doctors and I dealt with the cutting edge oncologists at the time. And I dealt with the cutting edge technology that was being offered by various pharmaceutical and biotech. So I had a level of belief, and based on data, I was like, okay, like, I feel it's safe. They say it's safe. I feel it's effective to a certain percentage. They say that the data says it. All right, we'll give it a shot. But it was like, what else can I do?
Hmm.
Like you said, what else can I do was always the question. What else can I do? And not tying, not expecting my healing to come from one thing or another.
Okay, so letting go of those expectations that it has to be that way. But there's
Yeah.
something that you said I think that's really important that a lot of doctors don't address is that emotional state. When you said you were in fear, you were scared about what you're facing. That really, when you're in scared and fear, you sort of follow them like, okay, they're the knowledgeable ones. And it just reminds me of the time when I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I was in the hospital, and the doctors just said to me one morning, he's like, "Oh, you have MS. We concluded you have MS," and promptly walked out of the room.
Mm.
So I think that's a real important part that the medical system doesn't address when somebody's scared, when they're in a fear state, because that does terrible stuff to your system, and they just don't really address that, how to convey that information in a way that is supportive.
Yeah, I think that was a big thing for me. One of the things that I've been a student of, over the years is emotional intelligence, right? And so how can we treat people the way that they need to be treated at the time that they need to be treated in a certain way? And how can we express ourselves in a way that is in response to what somebody's going through at that time, is not dismissive, is not condescending, is supportive and loving, such that we can communicate important information, significant information that will not scare, fear, terrorize, right? And I've had many experiences in hospitals where, you know, people can be short because they're short on time and they're just communicating the important, significant information, but that's what they're to communicate. And there's no, or at least in my experience, there were times in certain people when they were communicating certain important information to me, especially if I had questions, right? And they couldn't really answer them to my liking or to the details that I would rather have, right? To like really dig into, well, why is it that we're recommending this? And why is it this way? And what is my experience expected to be? And what have other people experienced? And like, how can I really make an informed decision without fear and with like some level of comfort that, okay, things are going to be okay. We're trying our best. This is what is available, at least here. And, you know, it really made me very angry to hear some of the ways that I was treated in different doctors' offices and, you know, in different hospital settings. You know, I went through a couple of surgeries. It was really just made me think like something's got to change here. You know, this is, you can't treat everybody like this. And especially people who are sensitive and want more information and want more to get really like involved in their own care rather than taking somebody's word for it and blindly following, you know, the prescription.
Talk about this integrated wellness process that you sort of go through. Somebody's just newly diagnosed with cancer, they're completely lost, confused, and how do you steer them onto the path where they can find their way?
Yeah, I mean, you know, one of the first things that we talk about with my clients is, you know, understanding what their treatment options are, what conversations they've had with the doctors, if they've chosen a path of, let's say, chemotherapy or immunotherapeutics or some other form of treatment for themselves. What did they choose? Why did they choose it? How did they come to that decision? What is the information that they had? And is there more information that they can gather? So a lot of times I give my clients, you know, more questions to ask. If they're in the process of just diagnosed and they're trying to figure out their treatment options, I give them a series of questions to go back and ask to really understand what is it that's being recommended? Why is it being recommended? What are the potential outcomes? What are the potential alternatives? Right. And sometimes I know the answers to those questions, depending on the doctors that they're going to. But it's really getting an understanding of like, if they're going the medical path, let's get them the most educated that they possibly can so that they can feel good and comfortable and supported in their navigation through the medical system. And then the flip side of that is giving them, you know, the nutritional tools. So I put them on a detox program where I help them with juicing and different foods that are healing to choose for their different conditions, and, you know, detoxing their body and fortifying their body such that they create an environment where cancer can't live, regardless of the, you know, the state of the cancer or the stage of the cancer. And so the other part of it is assisting them with energy healing and spiritual healing, and assisting them with emotional intelligence concepts and autosuggestion and hypnosis and meditation and breath work and all of the tools, right, that I know to use and am certified to use. I bring them into work with my clients to just give them every possible chance to feel better, to look at their situation differently, to get a perspective on what's happening, and to really give them hope and to navigate through it. I mean, you know, I started working with people on their cancer journey prior to even having cancer, and working with them with the tools that I had. I saw a lot of people heal, and I saw a lot of people heal completely, right? And so it was just a matter of helping them with their beliefs, helping them with their mindset, getting a not control, but getting an understanding of their emotions and how their emotions could run away during different situations, and helping them be in where you started out, in that balanced state, such that they can hear what they need to hear and process it properly and not get themselves, because stress is a killer when you have cancer. So like to de-stress and to get balance such that they can, you know, walk that middle way between like, I can actually get through this, and oh my God, I'm probably going to die because the doctor doesn't believe that I can be well, right? And to be able to hold both of those things and just keep going, right? And to navigate through anything that happens on that journey.
It's really important to make them feel better, make them hopeful that all things are indeed possible.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you saw some cases where the doctors called them hopeless and they turned it around.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I like to say 100% of the things are possible 100% of the time. And that's how I operate. And I know this in my core that this is real, right? And so when I say that, I don't say that from a position of non-experience. And when in my early days, like when I first started teaching Reiki and I started working with people with cancer, one of the first patients that I had did end up getting well for a while, and then took a turn for the worse and stopped coming to treatments, and decided to go back into the medical route, and she did end up passing away, right? And I'm not saying that it was like the rejection of the spiritual healing or the body not being able to tolerate the chemotherapy is what caused it, but something happened where she fell completely out of balance again, and she ended up passing because of the out of balance state that she was in. On the flip side of that, I had a patient that came with stage 4 breast cancer, and it had spread to her lymph nodes. And she had made a decision that she was not going to go. She had already had cancer one time in her life. She went through chemotherapy. She healed from the cancer, and she got better, but she didn't like her experience on the medication. She didn't like how it interrupted her life. She didn't like how it made her feel. Totally debilitated her in that part of her experience. And when she came to me, we put her on a program, and we worked together for about 12 weeks. And she decided not to go back to the chemotherapy. We just implemented the tools that I share with people. And she went from stage 4 breast cancer to no evidence of cancer after 12 weeks. Right. And I'm not saying I have the cure all, right? But it's a function of the things that we decide to do to get back into balance, to bring our minds, our hearts, and our souls into alignment.
Right. That's the whole key. Bring everything into alignment, everything
Yeah.
into balance. And just to back, that's why I tell people, if you're alive, then anything is possible.
Absolutely.
It's that little bit. If you're just a little bit of life, then I tell
Yes.
people that you are the creator of your reality, depending upon your mindset is creating your reality and that attitude. And it's if somebody's in a scared and fear state, what they're going to create is not very pleasant.
Yeah, they have a better chance of having an unpleasant experience if they're in fear, for sure. And I'm sympathetic to that. I get that. I understand. I know what it's like to be in fear. And I'm not saying it's wrong to be in fear. I'm just saying let's find a way to move through that. Let's find a way to raise the consciousness on how you're feeling and get you to feel differently, right? So
Right.
that you can look at the circumstances in a different way and navigate through them in a healthier way.
Yeah, that's the real thing, the healthier way, because a fear state is not healthy. You want to move out of that as quickly as possible, or the high stress states, you want to move that as quickly as possible. And that's really a challenge if somebody's having a lot of difficulties, a lot of pain.
Yeah.
It's a big challenge when you're not there with them all the time, saying, okay, let's keep instilling that hope in them, that belief that it's going
Yeah.
to be okay, that you're
Yeah.
going to get through this.
Yeah, it's true. And that's one of the reasons why I not only work with the patients, but I also work with their care teams, especially their caregivers and their family members, right? So I make sure that everybody has the information that they need to bring them through those supportive times where, maybe we're not in session that day. But certainly they have access to me. They can call me anytime. But if it's the middle of the night and they're having a moment of fear and anxiety and stress because they're in pain or something else is going on inside of them, their care team has to have the tools and they have to know how to walk them through different states as well.
Yeah, that's very good for the family to know what to do to
Yeah.
better support them, because they are with them all the time where you
Yeah.
can't be there, but to give them the tools is very powerful. Maybe do you
Yeah.
record meditations or something for them as well?
I
Like,
do, yeah. And I do a lot of sessions over Zoom, since the pandemic. And I record all of the sessions, and most of my sessions do have guided healing meditations or healing energy sessions, which occur during the session. And so they also get, the recording of that, but I do also record, different things every week that are specific to them based on the information that they share with me, and really just encourage them to play those and to participate in their own healing and meditations and guided healings as often as possible. I remember, I had been working with some cancer patients prior to like putting together this formal program. And I remember one of the things, I worked with you during my cancer journey, and just having access to your insights and the meditation and the guided healing that you took me through, that I played over and over and over again when I was in those moments of doubt and imbalance. Like, I even though I'm a healer, I had to put all those tools to work for myself, right? And so having access to that kind of thing was super helpful for me. And so I said, yeah, I got to do that for other people as well.
Yeah, participation is so key, that you have to be part of your journey, because you are ultimately, it falls back to you and your
Yeah.
belief system and participation. One of the things that I've been really trying to get focused on is get people off the words like heal or healing, and rather to wellness, wholeness, because I think there's a lot of baggage with healing and heal and all that there's something wrong. It just keeps focused on wrong, wrong, wrong.
Yeah. I get that. Yeah, I get that. I wrestle with the right words, right? And so in some cases, people want to heal, so this is what's going to happen, right? But I believe that healing is just a step that happens on the journey to wellness and wholeness, right? If you start here at I'm sick, I have to heal in order to become whole so I can experience true wellness. So the goal is wholeness and wellness and living from a state of thriving and balance, and healing happens on the way.
Right.
It's a verb rather than an end state, I think.
Right. Yeah. Because if people just always focused on that, I need to heal, I need to heal, I need to heal, it can become sort of an addiction that could block their well-being.
And words have weight.
Yeah,
right?
words have weight. Yeah.
Words have weight. We experience our lives based on what we say and how we act in accordance to how we think and what we say and the words that come out of our mouths. And if you're constantly saying I am healing, then that's going to be your perpetual state of healing and not becoming well.
Right, exactly.
Or I have cancer. Well, your body may have been experiencing it before, and it's a snapshot in time as to what was happening with your body prior to taking action and moving forward, right? I've seen miraculous things. So like, I believe that at any point in time, we can reverse any conditions in our body if we have the right support. The biggest mission I have, besides educating people on their ability to really become empowered, to heal, to move from sickness into wellness, is that they don't have to buy into the cancer narrative, right? That because they have cancer, then their life has to be miserable and they have to feel crappy all the time and they have to fight and they have to battle. I think it's the biggest disservice that the media has done to the world, is to talk about the fight against cancer and the battle with cancer, right? Because just in those words alone, that's a lower vibrational state. And there's a lot of fear that's behind battling and fighting. And so if we're loving ourselves, which is where we really need to be, we have to love ourselves enough to bring ourselves into balance, to do the things that are required. We totally sidestep that whole fight. And we sidestep the narrative that we have to feel like crap or fight so hard. And, we can actually feel good. When I was implementing, some of the nutritional protocols that I was doing during mine, I mean, I went vegan for 2.5 years and I was drinking celery juice every single day and all kinds of beautiful juices and vegetables and foods and fruits. And people did not even believe that I had cancer at one point. They were like, dude, you're full of energy. You're feeling good. You're sleeping great. I was even able to exercise like while I was going through treatments. And I'll tell you what, like there are certain things that we can do to support our bodies where we can actually feel good and have something that is not right in our bodies. It's something that's out of balance, but we can feel good by doing the right things to fortify our bodies so that it, like I said, it creates that environment where it can't live anymore.
Right. That is so important, the narrative. Especially, I go crazy when people say, I'm fighting this, I'm battling this. That's a good way to lock it into place.
Yeah. Why are you fighting? I say to people, put your sword down.
Right. There's no need to battle it. There's no need to fight it. You can just let it be and just move on from there.
Yeah, because we know from, the healing work that we do, when you let it be, and when you get into those states of balance where you can allow the body to do what it does naturally, what it was designed to do, which was to heal and to regenerate. But if we can remove the stress, remove the fight, remove the battles, we have a better chance of allowing our body to do what it already wants to do for us anyway.
Right. The body naturally wants to heal itself. It's usually
Yeah.
this process we have in our mind that really
Get in the way.
gets in the way. But the body can do it if we can get it out of the way.
And I remember because I've been in my way.
Right. You just have to get out of your way. The body knows how to correct itself. It may need just some help in the outside world with herbs, supplements, whatever it may be, some kind of treatment.
Exactly.
But you basically have to get out of the way and allow it to do its job, if you will.
Correct. I think there's a dominant mindset in most people who are, whether it's cancer, or they have a chronic illness, or even something that's acute, right? I go to a practitioner and they fix me. They tell me what to do and they do the thing to me, and something happens and the result is healing, right? But you and I both know that that's short-sighted, and we have to participate in our actual healing. And there's nothing anybody can do to us or for us which is going to cause. It's a matter of belief and participation and doing the thing that's necessary. I say, look, it's not only doing all the things, but it's also doing everything that's required, right? And what's required is to show up and be a part of your healing and not expecting that the healing is going to be done to you.
Right. I tell people I can only take you so far. It's the rest of it you're going to walk on your own, your journey, and
correct.
You just have to take that walk because we can only take you so far. And
I think one of the best pieces of advice I was given from a mentor of mine was, you have to look at it differently, and anything is better than how you're looking at it now, right? You have to look at it differently, and don't expect one thing to be the source of your healing. Just keep following those breadcrumbs, let in the information, open to everything, closed to nothing, and being open to moving through the current state and having that positive intention to move through it. Because you never know where the healing is going to come from.
Right. That's the good point. You never know where the healing is going to come from. That's why you have to have that integrated approach, if you will. If you're not balanced,
you're
not giving the right avenues a chance to come through.
Yeah. And you may be doing all the things, but still be out of balance, and you actually need something else. Like, regardless of what the popular opinion is, or what the doctors say, or what your energy healer says, or whatever it is, you have to follow that inner knowing enough that, like, okay, like, all right, I'm doing what I can, and what else can I do? And maybe that will contribute something such that I bring myself back into balance. But I don't know unless I'm open to it and unless I give it a try.
Right. It's what you were saying earlier. What else?
Yeah.
What else? That's the big question you have to ask yourself that you can only answer. What else do I need? What am I missing? I'm doing these 7, 8 things, but I feel like there's something else missing. What's that missing piece?
Yeah. I feel like I made it a full-time job to remove the cancer from my body. I like tracked all the things that I would do between doctor's appointments and sitting in infrared saunas and juicing and making food for myself and going to sound healing, to the sound bowls and getting Reiki treatments and doing yoga and a bunch of other things that I know helped in some way. And I can't pinpoint any one thing that helped. Besides, it all helped. It all helped bring me back into balance, and it all supported me in my ability to keep going. The body knows exactly what to do to heal itself. It just can't tolerate any interference, right? And the interference is the stress, it's the narrative, it's the opinions, it's the perspectives, it's the beliefs, it's other people's energy. other people's requirements, other people's protocols, right? So all that stuff interferes, and whatever we can do to block out the interference and allow the body to do what it does is probably the best way.
Right. And our words too can be interference as well.
Oh, without a doubt.
Especially those battle words.
Yes. Yes. It's like this. I am this, right? Powerful. Powerful.
Yeah, I know when I was sick, I have MS, I'm bipolar, all those labels that we attach to, and they get very sticky, and the narrative around all of that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, all of the tools and the healing modalities that I work with are geared towards helping people get back into balance and become well. Right. I'm working with the cancer patients because I have a special place in my heart for them, because I lived it. You know, I can't relate to all conditions, but I can help anybody who's willing to help themselves. So, you know, I've worked with people with autoimmune, I've worked with people with pain, I've worked with people with cancer, I worked with people with trauma, with addiction issues. I mean, you name it, like the gamut of people have come to me, and these tools are effective in conjunction or alone, like with, you know, whatever it is that they chose for themselves. So yeah, I mean, I welcome anybody with what I like to call, you know, difficult diagnosis, right? Versus just like putting it out on the line as like, I just work with people with cancer. I'd be happy to help anybody who thinks I can help them and is committed to their healing. But, you know, the best way to get a hold of me is really on my website, or through Facebook. You can send me a message. It's risereikidojo.com. Send me a message. I'll get back to you and, you know, set up a free consultation and chat. See if it makes sense to support them, is typically how people reach out.
All right, Anthony, is there any parting words before we conclude for today?
I think parting words is really do whatever it takes. Do what's required, and don't give up, and stop fighting. Right? Wellness is not about fighting against what is. It's about allowing what is to be and just moving in a different direction.
Right, exactly. And that's a perfect place to close.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Anthony, for joining us today.
Thank you, Sam. My pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Wellness Wednesdays with Sam, the Miracle Man. And we hope you'll continue to discover the power of resilience and the steps we can all take to create our own miracles while on our bumpy path to well-being. But just remember, be present, find clarity, and also subscribe so we can all continue to share this life-changing journey together. See you next Wednesday.